Iran, a country Vodcast project.
With the size almost 3 times as big as Texas, Iran has a wide variety of geography, bordering 7 countries with Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Armenia on the north, Afghanistan and Pakistan on the east, and Iraq and Turkey on the west. Iran is one of the leaders in the Middle East trade. Lying south of Iran is the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. The Persian Gulf coastal area is known for being one of the world's largest source for crude oil. This provides Iran with its main source of economic revenue. The Caspian Sea, also known as the largest inland body of the water in the world, sits just north of Iran, providing water for most of the needed farming. Mountain ranges and deserts take up about 2/3 of the land area. The Iranian plateau is located in the central and eastern part of the country, encompassing the 2 deserts, the Dasht-e-Kavir and the Dasht-e-Lut, which comprise about 1/4 of Iran's land area. The mean elevation of Iran is 1,305 meters, which is with the lowest point being in the Caspian Sea and the highest elevation being in the Khe-i-Devamand. Iran's climate can be very different in parts of the country, ranging from arid to semi-arid, as well as subtropical along the coast. A large part of the country has extreme heat and cold fronts between summer and winter, while rainfall stays seasonal and scarce. Along the Persian Gulf, there are very high temperatures, while a small area across the Caspian Sea has a cooler climate with rainfall throughout the year.
Iran is the second largest economy in the Middle East and has an estimated gross domestic product of US $393.7 billion and a growth of 3%. Public debt is at 12% and unemployment is at 12.8%. Iran's economy is dominated by the hydrocarbon sector, essentially oil and gas extraction, with agriculture and a government-run manufacturing and financial sector supplementing it. Iran ranks second in the world in natural gas reserves and fourth in proven crude oil reserves. This dependence on oil and lack of economic diversification means that Iran's economy remains volatile to oil price changes. Although the country is resource-rich, there are large disparities within the country's economic system. As common across the world, there is a palpable rural-urban divide. During the most recent administration, there were marked increases in economic inequality. Iran typically solved these issues with an oil subsidy, but due to recent oil prices and sanctions from the U.S., the government was unable to redistribute wealth as effectively. However, despite this, across the country, the poverty level has fallen gradually. This is mainly due to the transition from rural economies to urban market-based economies. The short-term outlook for the Iranian economy is bright due to lifting of economic sanctions. However, for there to be sustained and positive economic growth, there is a need for structural reform through governmental action. The legal system and overbearing government bureaucracy is making FDI difficult, and there is a need for an overhaul to increase diversification of economy.
Iran's total population is estimated to be 82,801,633. Iran is ranked 17th populous country in the world. Compared to other countries of the Middle East, Iran is the second most populous country, falling right behind Egypt. Iran's population growth is an estimate of 1.18%, which is higher than a more developed country's population growth, such as the United States. Iran's population growth can be explored further through its age structure. People from ages 25 to 54 years old comprise 47.59% of the population, which is the highest percentage of age group in Iran compared to other age groups. Iran can expect a younger crowd to enter its workforce in the future, since the age group of 0 to 14 years old comprise 23.65% of the total population, being the second largest group in the age structure. Iran's high population can be accounted to its birth rate, which is 17.8 births per 1,000 of the population. As more children are born, Iran's youth will help boost its economy in the future as they enter the workforce. The total fertility rate is 1.83 births per woman. On the contrary, death rate is 5.9. Birth rate exceeding the death rate explains the population's increase over the years. Infant mortality rate is 37.1 deaths per 1,000 births. The high percentage of infants dying may be the result of poor public health services in Iran. It's the responsibility of the government to provide its people a more feasible healthcare system, which can help increase the current life expectancy of 71.4%. Iran has multilingual and diverse society. Although the official language of Iran is Farsi, its diverse population also speaks other languages such as Azeri, Kurdish, Arabic, Baluchi, and Armenian. Since Iran is primarily a Muslim-dominant country, 99.4% of its population is Muslim, but within Islam there are two denominations called Sunni and Shia. Iran is 90 to 95% Shia and 5 to 10% Sunni. Iran is known to have the largest Shia population in the Middle East. The other religious groups include Zoroastrian, Jewish, and Christian, and make up only 0.3% of the total population. As education plays an important part in a country's economy, Iran's total population is 86.8% literate. Of the percentage of the population that's literate, 91.2% are male and 82.5% are female. Iran's society is patriarchal and women are often more restricted, which attributes to the lower percentage of females being literate. The more educated Iran's population, the more improvement can be made in areas such as the government, healthcare, environment, and economy.
One of Iran's biggest environmental issues is air pollution. 85.6% of Iran's energy comes from the use of fossil fuels, which causes a large amount of emissions. Iran ranks number 9 out of the 214 countries for the most CO2 emissions. In 2014, Iran had 650.4 million metric tons of CO2 emissions. An air quality study was conducted in Mashhad, the second most populous city of Iran. Software from the World Health Organization, otherwise known as WHO, was used to determine air quality. PM10, or particulate matter that is 10 micrometers across, was 1.64 times greater than the WHO guideline. The concentration of PM2.5, which was 1.62 times greater than the recommended amount, and NO2 and SO2 amounts were 2.17 and 3.6 times higher than the guidelines. According to WHO, 2 million premature deaths each year are caused by air pollution. Populations who are at the most risk are the elderly and children. It can be inferred that this is why Iran citizens live 8.7 years less than U.S. citizens, and infant deaths are 6.32 times more likely to occur. Another environmental problem in Iran is erosion. Many trees are being harvested from the Hyrcanian forest in northern Iran. Removing trees causes erosion because roots keep soil in place, and in order to harvest the trees, workers use skid trails to move logs from the stump to the trucks. Skid trails cause deep canals to form, which is dangerous as it increases water erosion on steep slopes. Another type of erosion Iran suffers from is gully erosion. Gully erosion takes place when water flows across unprotected land and carries away soil on the drainage lines instead of being absorbed. The southern Fars province in Iran is affected by gully erosion due to deforestation, overgrazing, using rangelands as croplands, and land abandonment. Erosion leads to landslides, desertification, and loss of fertile cropland. Action should be taken to prevent further air pollution and erosion, as both are detrimental to the health and economic prosperity of Iran's citizens.
Iran operates on a theocratic republic form of government. This means that the national religion of Islam largely affects the political decisions. Because of this hybrid government, some of the public officials are voted into office and some are appointed. Voters elect a president, parliament, and experts. These experts then in turn pick the most powerful religious and political leader in the land, the supreme leader. This is the current supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The supreme leader is elected for life. The current president is Hassan Rouhani. He was elected by a narrow margin and is the most moderate and progressive president that Iran has had so far. A big issue he was elected on was getting the UN to remove economic and nuclear sanctions passed on the country in 2004. He accomplished this in 2016 and has shifted Iranian politics into a new direction that seeks to move political policy more in line with those of the Western world and create a better economic quality of life for all citizens. Thank you for listening to our Iran Vodcast. Here are the places we found our information and our pictures. That's all, folks.